Hi, and welcome to the Proactive Social Impact Fund's LinkedIn Live. My name is Bill Houston, and I'm the founder of CrowdMax, a real estate crowdfunding marketing consulting agency. Today, Dr. Van Williams will discuss the types of affordable housing assets. Affordable housing plays a crucial role in ensuring that low and middle income families have access to safe, stable, and affordable homes. With a growing interest in real estate crowdfunding, understanding the various asset classes within affordable housing is essential for investors, developers, and stakeholders. This comprehensive guide provides an in-depth look at the different types of housing, affordable housing, highlighting their unique features and benefits. Dr. Kane Van Williams, please introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Yes, sir. My name is Dr. Kanan Van Williams, and I'm the founder and managing partner of the Proactive Social Impact Funds. My background, I have a doctorate degree in psychology. That's the most common question that I get. It's like, okay, do you practice in a hospital? Where are you at? No. So I'm a psychologist, not practicing in the clinical setting. However, I do use my skill set primarily in social impact housing, which we'll delve into here in a moment. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it, Mr. Bill.
Okay, great. So today we're going to talk about the various asset classes that Proactive Social Impact Funds operates in. Do you want to give us a little overview of that before we dive into the more specific questions and asset areas?
Yes, sir. So, excuse me, and happy Monday to everyone. So, the various asset classes as proactive social impacts funds that we operate in, own, and have a robust pipeline of properties are opportunity zone properties. We have an opportunity zone fund, Section 8 HUD housing, housing, urban and development, manufactured housing communities, and single room occupancy properties, and also multifamily, which is encompassed in all except for manufactured housing, obviously. Although we do have one property that happens to have a multifamily property on the property at 1735 North Rancho in Las Vegas. So we have a fund for each. So we have the Proactive Realty Income Fund, we have the Proactive Realty Income Fund 2, and we have the Proactive QOZ Fund 1, and we also have Rancho Affordable Living, which is a Reg CF fund.
Right, and the Reg CF fund is open to both accredited and non-accredited investors.
Yeah, so that fund's official launch will be any day now. So we'll keep you posted. You can come back to LinkedIn for updates, as well as come to LinkedIn, as well as reach out to myself, Mr. Bill, or our website, proactiveimpactfunds.com.
Great, thank you for that, Dr. Van. So let's dive right in here.
Yes, sir.
So what is Section 8 housing, and how does that fit into this asset class?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. So Section 8 housing is a guaranteed rent payments program. It's a government voucher which covers a significant portion of the rent, providing stable income for landlords, stable housing for the end user, for the resident. Um, it's a tenant-based assistance, meaning that vouchers follow the resident. Well, for us residents, not tenants, follow the residents, allowing flexibility in housing choices. Landlords must meet specific quality standards and to participate in the program. It's a broad eligibility. It assists the low income, the elderly, and the disabled.
Okay, great, thank you. What are opportunity zone properties?
So opportunity zone properties are properties designated in designated areas that offer tax incentives to encourage long-term investments in economically distressed communities. Um, Residents benefit from upgraded properties from a certain standard. Proactive implements a certain standard of living for those particular properties, especially quality standards. Um, people who invest in those particular areas benefit from capital gains tax deferrals and reductions. And these properties in these areas help to stimulate economic growth and development in those particular areas.
Great. What are manufactured home communities?
Yes, sir. So a manufactured home community is a community of factory built housing. Manufactured homes are homes that were built after HUD codes were established in 1976. And fast forward to today, 2024, from like the last few years, we started placing homes in 2021. However, so manufactured homes are factory built homes. They're usually in a community, and the community will have a designated number of spaces. And so they're cost-effective communities, meaning that they have lower construction costs compared to traditional housing. Excuse me, they're much faster to develop, faster construction timelines due to prefabrication. Community amenities often include shared facilities like parks, community centers, stable housing. They're long-term, affordable, viable products. They have a shelf life of 50 plus years. And there's, the rental model and also the home ownership model where a resident would just pay a space rent. Under the rental model, we're proactive, they, rent it each month. And then we allow up to 20% of the net rent to go towards the cost of the down payment for a person to purchase their own home. Up to $2,000 is what we cap it at. And we don't sell homes more than 10% above invoice, what we pay for them after they're set, ready to go, that sort of thing.
What are SRO properties?
Excuse me. So an SRO property is, the SRO stands for single room occupancy. SRO properties provide individual rooms previously. So if you think of an existing SRO property, an older one, it's more of an existing room that for long or short-term stays, occupancy with shared common areas. And they're typically affordable and cater to low-income individuals, often support service to residents. However, for proactive, for safety reasons, sanitation reasons, security reasons, our SROs operate as motels. So we'll typically acquire a motel that's self-contained. So you have your room, your living area, you have a refrigerator, you have a cooktop stove, usually electric, 2 or 3 burner. You have a restroom, and you have facilities to live. Excuse me, affordably. And we also often work with a lot of social service agencies and place people in those properties until we have a longer term solution open up, or if we can refer them to another quality housing provider. So SRO properties are a huge safety net. Think of it as, for a lot of people, as a bridge between sleeping on the sidewalk or in a tent. And when I say sleeping on the sidewalk, I mean that literally, especially in areas like Las Vegas, California, the West Coast, even in Chicago, when we went up in there and toured properties, I've just seen it everywhere. So that's where we're at with SRO properties in the definition of them.
What is workforce housing?
So workforce housing is housing that's like an in-between. So it's moderate rent prices. So it targets lower income workers. So they may not be right there at the poverty line, like a lot of our residents are, who receive guaranteed rent payments. They would be typically slightly above that. So think of a couple, 2 people who make a family of 5, so 2 adults, 3 children, and their income is right at maybe $36,000 per year. So we provide housing for them who do, and they may not qualify for traditional affordable housing just because it's a long wait list or it takes several years to get into the program. So Proactive provides a product that that caters to uh, the lower income folks. However, they may not be at the poverty line. Also, workforce housing is housing that's in close proximity to employment centers, like job hubs to reduce commute times and transportation costs. And sometimes they're often integrated into larger developments with market rate units. And also public and private sector collaboration with workforce housing is it leverages resources and incentives from both the private and public sector. I'd like to get back to the proximity to employment centers and talking about the definition. It's really important to have affordable housing options for those who need to be close to employment centers. Right now, we're in a time where a lot of people are super commuters. A super commuter can be defined as one who may drive 50 or more miles each way to get to work just because they need a place that's affordable and it may be 50 miles away from their place of employment. And it creates a great deal of stress. It really negatively impacts families because figure that's 10 hours a day, less time spent with kids, bonding, supervising, those sorts of things. And it really contributes to mental burnout and physical burnout as well. When you don't have workforce housing that's close to employment centers.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I never heard the term super commute. But we're in Petaluma. We spent the weekend in Petaluma, California, and the next morning we actually took a bus down to San Francisco in the city, and I'd never seen anything like that. That's over 50 miles. And I know out west you see a lot of that. So that's something that sounds like an absolute necessity. So tell us a little bit about supportive housing.
Yes, sir. So supportive housing. So, I'll give you a definition, and I'll tell you how Proactive works with it. So, supportive housing typically is on-site supportive services, which will include healthcare, job training, counseling to help residents maintain stability. The long-term stability component of it aims to provide permanent housing solution for vulnerable populations, those at risk of being homeless, integration with community resources. Supportive housing typically partners with local organizations for comprehensive support, specialized management. It requires property managers with experience in supportive housing operations and specialized. How Proactive will work with, potentially can work with. One thing comes to mind, there's a property on on Fremont Street across from a development that we previously did, and they reached out to us to acquire the property and do a master lease. And in a situation like that, Proactive would own the property. However, it'd be master lease. And this particular organization was in a mental health services field. And what they did was a lot of people who suffered from drug addiction, who then, because drug addiction, mental health, all of that goes hand in hand. At some point, people who have been staying up for days at a time, even with alcohol, it just kind of eats away at your brain, at who you are, your character. It just changes your whole DNA as to who you are as a person. And so supportive housing, we'd buy properties that we could master lease then to agencies that would be able to, provide supportive housing services. We are not a direct supportive housing provider. However, we are very supportive of supportive housing and supportive housing environments. And whenever possible, we'll make facilities available, as I've stated in previous LinkedIn Lives that we will make facilities available to those social workers, social services, case managers who need space to come in often and meet with people or work with people. We've worked with DSS, that's Department of Social Services, CPS, Child Protective Services, Adult Protective Services. We work with all of those agencies in a collaborative manner to get services to residents so that they're served and that they can get what they need. We've also made referrals or accepted people from supportive service housing or supportive housing. We've accepted a lot of high functioning individuals. What that means is they've gone through the program, they've been vetted, they're med compliant for those who are on medication. They ready to follow rules. They're ready to be productive. They're not going to have a loud house or disturb other residents. And when I say a loud house, what I mean by that is, having a lot of undesirable people on the property, coming to visit maybe formerly homeless people or people who are actively homeless, which can be a problem oftentimes. And one of the reasons sometimes landlords or companies won't participate in the social services space is because some of the challenges that come along with it. However, if you have properly trained staff, and you will really work with residents and your intention is to build communities, then that's something that you can work through so that there's better outcomes for everyone, and especially the resident who needs housing and to be off the streets.
Okay, great. So here's one that's near and dear to my heart as a U.S. military. What about veteran housing? What is veteran housing, and how does proactive social impact funds work with veterans housing?
Great question. So the veterans have a Veterans VASH program, VASH. They have vouchers. They also have social services. We've worked with veterans extensively. Even prior to my launching the fund, I'm in my 25th year this year, 5 years as a fund since 2019, August. And this is August 2024. So we're celebrating 5 years come August 14th of, Proactive being a fund. But anyway, back to the veterans. Even prior to that, when I first started out in real estate, about my 3rd year, I came across veterans. Veterans are very near and dear to my heart as well, because my grandfather was a veteran. His brother was a great veteran. My grandfather has a Purple Heart medal that even after he passed away, I allowed my cousin to keep it, for a while. After his dad passed away, also my grandpa was in the Korean War. So veterans housing is housing that prioritizes, housing for veterans, often with tailored support services. Again, so for Proactive, we have one project that we have in our pipeline we're waiting to get funding for, to be able to provide up to 53 units of SRO type housing to veterans that would be of a permanent type basis for as long as they want to stay, unless they go somewhere else. And it's a former Days Inn motel. This is an older one, so they have really large rooms that can accommodate, just to paint a picture for you, that can accommodate, like, say, 2 king size beds in one room and still have some room. So it can operate like as a moderate studio apartment. Veterans housing also includes mental health care, job training, benefits assistance, partnerships with veterans organizations. We collaborate with groups like the VA for comprehensive support. So secure and stable environments for veterans, which ensures safety and stability for veterans transitioning to civilian life. Now, I will like to add something to that. Not all landlords or not all management companies offer secure and stable environments. We have Proactive. Quality is just like not to be negotiated. It's just a standard that we have. We believe that each and every person can be and should be served with secure and stable housing and stability in an environment where they can thrive.
Okay, thank you. Um, how does proactive social impact funds work with affordable home ownership programs?
So, like as I stated before, uh, so if we finance the house that's below market, we give below market mortgage rates. We'd offer lower interest rates to make ownership more accessible. With the people who rent from us, we have a down payment assistance program where they can build up to $2,000 towards a down payment. Our average cost of a manufactured home that we'd sell to an individual or a family, brand new, would be, call it between 75, no, 70, between like 74 and 79,000. 10% of that would be roughly 7,900, and if they have 2,000 of rental assistance built up, then that'd be 5,900. Um, okay, quick case in point. I just thought about this. I have a lady in South Carolina who came in on a lease option program, and she's built up 28,500 for her house. That is a slightly different situation. This is before we implemented the up to $2,000. And when she came in doing a rent to own on a brand new 4-bedroom, 2-bath, double section home referred to as a double wide. That particular home is 1,700 square feet, low E, had a lot of options. And so she's buying the house from us uh, for 95,000. Our cost was 84,000. And then we had some setup costs built in there. So we've given her a pretty generous credit towards home ownership. She's been stable. She's been there going on. This is her 3rd year in a particular property. We have lenders that we work with. In this particular case, we're working with 21st Mortgage, but we do have other agencies like Park Lane Financial, Zippy Manufactured Housing, who we'll be working with in the future. Anyway, and so yeah, that's how we were able to create home ownership in the manufactured housing space. In a multifamily space or SRO space, those are just pure rentals for the low income. However, in the manufactured home space, we're able to create home ownership there. And then let me back up some, because I forgot all about this, was that when we first went into the park in Orangeburg, South Carolina, that we sold to the publicly traded REIT, UMH. We went in there in November 2018. During COVID, about July, August, we were able to create quite a few homeowners. Initially, when I went in, we canceled a lot of debt because the previous owner had just, sold a lot of houses on these rent-to-own contracts that were astronomical. Some of the homes were in disrepair, so we were able to, at Proactive, just cut the mortgage down to and say, hey, bring us $1,000 and let us also help you fix up your homes. We were also able to do that in Las Vegas. 2 of the people who lived there, who had a house, we were able to sell it to them for $1,500 each. Whereas the previous owner of those properties, and not saying anything disparaging about anyone or how they operate or what their business ethics are, the previous owner wanted $10,000 each for these homes. It made no sense to me. These homes were built like in the 70s. They're older homes. However, residents keep them in really good condition. And so rather than, it's like 1,500 is more than fair. And because we have wholesale relationships with suppliers like Stylecrest that supplies skirting, that supplies stairs, that supplies roofing materials, we were also able to pass that cost savings on to residents, where they get products for like 60% less than what they retail for. So imagine going to what's the store? Imagine going to Target, and instead of paying $10 for something at Target, you get it directly from the office for $6 or for $5 and change or something, something similar to that nature. But anyway, getting back on subject, on point, I should say. So we're able to create a lot of homeowners in different ways. If we go into communities, there's older houses. If some of the previous owners have engaged in this rent to own, where People are paying high interest rates, or the house is not of a certain standard, then we immediately go in, we talk with residents, and it's like, okay, let's either cut this bill out completely, or, pay 500 to $1,000. And then also, by the way, we'll take that $1,000 and utilize that to help build, if do floors need to be repaired? Do we need to replace a door? Do we need to put on new skirting? Do we need to offer the residents a new set of stairs or a porch, or have it anchored down, or something of that nature? And because we have the wholesale relationships, we're able to go in and be very cost effective and create communities and clean up places. We'll do, for example, I bought a new power washer not long ago for one of my managers in South Carolina. And he and another guy, they pressure wash homes for whether whether it's a resident owned home or whether it's a park owned home. We do a lot of beautification, a lot of cleanup. And what I've found is, my own informal studies, is that when you do that, that there are a lot of people who catch on, who start to take pride in where they live. And it begins to mean something for them. Like, we'll put in new pedestal mailboxes. We just erase blight. We just get rid of blight. And I'm really big on aesthetics, inside and out. We've had some residents that own their own homes that says, hey, Mr. Williams from South Carolina, we have bugs that have come in, whether it be, the various insects. And so I'll have the exterminator go in and spray the home, so that, they can have a decent, safe, clean environment.
Great. So we talk a little bit about transitional housing.
So transitional housing, in general, is temporary housing in this a bridge to permanent solutions. So, and it also includes some supportive services, job training, counseling, case management. Transitional housing is very important because it's a stepping stone to more transitional or permanent housing. And so it helps residents who are previously unhoused to transition from homelessness to some form of stable living. That some form of stable living may be an SRO property. It may be a temporary manufactured home. We have a website that I'll talk more about Friday, and the book that's coming out. And the website is Shed Dominiums and ShedLiving.com. And don't be put off by that. It's not what you may think of as a typical shed. This is one that's not built to HUD code, but it's a tiny home, 399 square feet. And we have a few models we'll be rolling out that we ourselves, Proactive, through my separate company, will be rolling out for homeless solutions. And they have, two porches. I call it an SRO property, but think of extended stay. I forgot what size extended stay rooms are, but this is comparable to an extended stay room. And for those who have been in extended stay or who have a minute to go online and look at an extended stay or a Sonesta type hotel, you can see, how large they are. And they have, area for, refrigerator, cooking, living space, a separate door, like think of so instead of your typical studio, it's more of a two-bedroom, two-room unit. It's called a three-bedroom condo, is what we're offering. However, it's a really large space. So when the website's up and ready, then you can go to that. But it's a relation of transitional housing. So Proactive is looking to provide a great deal of transitional housing, because there are a lot of cities, so like Las Vegas, Nevada, Chicago, Illinois, South Carolina, various cities there, and various cities in the state of Illinois, because we have properties in Riverdale, Phoenix, Illinois, Harvey, Illinois. There are so many places that it's just like transitional housing or bridge of transitional housing has turned into a long-term source of housing. And so we have products, and we gear ourselves up to be prepared for the long-term portion that a person may be in housing. So they may be waiting anywhere from 1 to 5 years to get into low income housing or to get the Section 8 voucher uh, or other housing options. And the other thing is this, viewers, is that there's a huge need for people to make Section 8 units available. There are so many people who are losing vouchers, and because you get a Section 8 voucher, I mean, you're still in a high risk category. There are a lot of landlords who either don't understand Section 8, they don't understand the resident, they don't understand the demographic, they don't have the social service skill set, or they have managers who advise them not to accept Section 8, that oh, those people will be trouble. Uh, I was just reading an article on LinkedIn, and believe it or not, there are a lot of mayors and city officials and council folks who will not publicly say this, but that are just like, no, I don't want low income in my city, or I don't want any more low income units, or I don't want any more Section 8 people around, or that sort of thing. And it's just like, whoa. They won't say it publicly. Now, publicly, they'll say, oh, I'm all for this, affordable housing and things that, however, privately, they are not. And if you look at their policies and practices, you can quickly tell which ones are and which ones are not.
Hey, Dr. Van, you slightly touched on this previously, but if you'd like to get into more detail, can you tell us how proactive social impact funds, work with tiny home communities?
Absolutely. So what I was just describing to you is classified as a tiny home. What's exciting about these, we're really excited about it, is that they have a small footprint. They're compact, efficient housing solutions. They're sustainable living. They focus on minimal environmental impact. They're community focused. Some of them include shared space and communal living. That would be more for just to make a clear demarcation. That would be for social services and case management, who want to do like a master lease type deal. And we have some that are 8 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and have a common area, a cooking area. So social services absolutely would be involved in something like that. There would not be 8 strangers who have no commonality living under one roof. So it lower construction and maintenance costs. Other thing about tiny homes, SROs, workforce housing, is that we can have them up and operating inside of 60 days. So imagine we have land that has sewer, water, and electric. It'd be master metered because it's an SRO property. Oh, and I forgot to mention previously. So SRO properties also have a term with them, a term that people used to refer to them as all bills paid housing. What that means is the resident has one payment, or the government agency that's subsidizing it or providing funds for it, they have one payment. That one payment covers utilities, water, sewer, garbage, electric. The resident, if they have a payment or a share of cost, there's one payment. And that makes it a lot simpler for someone who is transitioning or in transitional housing. The other exciting thing is that we can have these built, ready to go, shipped. So if a city government or official, or if we have our own land, because we're going to be creating some models around the United States in different areas, first starting in the areas we're already in and then branching out. We can have 100 units up in 100 days and operating. Now, can any ground up developer do that? And if they do, if they are able to accomplish that, fantastic. If they have a modular product, or if they have a prefab apartment building, I'm thinking, I don't know if they can get it done in 100 days. However, it's still for the average developer, it'd be cost prohibitive because it's new construction. So for us, we pretty much have a cost containment strategy. The house costs X. It costs this much to bring it to the site, to transport. We set it, strap it down, anchor it to the ground, put stairs to it, anchor those, and make sure it's safe. They can withstand anywhere from wind zone 1 to wind zone 3. meaning they can be placed in extreme weather or not so extreme weather. And these days, with a lot of climate change going on, I think, everywhere is extreme, if you ask me. However, we're really excited about the tiny home communities and what Proactive will be offering uh, to families in need and individuals in need. So we have a product for families, 5 people, up to 5 people, up to 7 people. And we also have a product for just a single individual that was formerly unhoused or in transition.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Van. Can you talk a little bit about adaptive reuse housing?
Yes. So adaptive reuse housing, I'm glad you asked that question. We missed out on well, I'll tell you what it is first before I get into one of my stories. So utilization of existing structures, it converts non-residential buildings into affordable housing. It has a unique architectural feature, preserves historical and or industrial elements. Urban revitalization contributes to the regeneration of urban areas, reduces costs by reusing existing buildings. And what I'd like to say about that is we had was 6491 Joy Lane Road in Memphis, Tennessee. Uh, we had a few investors who expressed interest in it. One of them made a soft commitment of $3 million. Those funds were going to be used to create 400 units of SRO housing, starting with 70 units at 6491 Joy Lane Road in Memphis, Tennessee. It was a former nursing home. And it was one of those older nursing homes it was close to everything. Public transportation, the airport, the bus line, just like optimal for social services, for case managers. So the nursing home had been shut down during COVID, and it had only been closed down for about 14 or 15 months. Anyway, we were going to use the rooms for SRO housing because all of the rooms, and it was zoned. So we went through with the county, we went through zoning. It was zoned for multifamily or SRO, what we'd like to purpose it for, instead of a nursing home. Had a lot of meeting spaces. We were excited about. Had a huge kitchen, like 4 or 5 really huge freezers. And you may be wondering, like, okay, why am I mentioning the kitchen and the freezers? Well, because a lot of SRO properties traditionally are near or in close proximity to soup kitchens. A lot of people who live in SRO housing have very little money to, even if they do get like food stamps from the government, they still have little money to eat, after they pay their rent monthly or weekly. And what was exciting about this was that we could have a facility downstairs that had a kitchen that, could provide back lunches, could provide hot meals. And we could have different organizations that came in at different times. I mean, we lined up so many resources with this. And the investor that we had that was committed, his wife unfortunately passed away suddenly. And then a couple other factors happened. And so he wasn't able to move forward with his commitment. Um, and so, that's an example of how you can repurpose a building and use it in the community. And then we had an agent who had sourced a few off-market properties for us. So with just a small amount of money, $3 million, we were going to be able to, the place 6491 Joy Lane Road had, if I remember correctly, like 68 units, and we could expand one area by another 8 or 9 units, and have this place up and running inside of 2 to 3 months of closing escrow. And the first floor would have been up and operational within about 3 weeks of close of escrow. So that's an example of how you can, repurpose a building to use for housing in adaptive reuse housing. And that's like one of the faster ways. I'm just a believer in not reinventing the wheel. And our mission at Proactive is that we go in, our goal, our intention is to go into properties, and we want to go into properties where we can quickly provide housing. That's why we don't do ground up construction or development. You know, anything can change or happen between today and a year or 2 years from now when you're doing ground up development. And not saying it's not a successful model. However, for our model, we're naturally occurring affordable housing, which is social impact housing, meaning we rebuild what's existing, or not so much rebuild it, renovate it, get it ready, and allow people to come in and have a decent place to live.
Thank you, Dr. Van, for this masterclass. Affordable housing is a multifaceted sector with diverse asset classes to cater to different populations and needs. Understanding the specific features and benefits of each asset class allows real estate crowdfunding participants to make informed decisions that align with their investment strategies, social impact guides. This LinkedIn Live video provides a detailed roadmap to navigate opportunities in the affordable housing market. This will also be posted on the Proactive Social Impact Fund YouTube channel. Dr. Van, how can people get in touch with you? How can they keep up with Proactive Social Impact Funds moving forward?
Yes. So 1-800-626-2089, or they can reach out to me directly, 803-989-8264, or invest at proactivefunds.com or admin@proactivefunds.com. Our website is proactiveimpactfunds.com. Again, that's proactiveimpactfunds.com. And we also have our main fund. Our first fund website is proactivefunds.com.
Right. Thank you very much. And we will see you Friday at 12:30 for the LinkedIn Live, and we are going to talk about your new upcoming book.
Yes, two of them. So the two books, and hopefully I'm hoping the website will be up for the tiny homes, ADUs, just really great housing that we can make a huge dent in the homeless population, affordable housing population, transitional population. So I'm really excited about that and the opportunity, and especially with the Supreme Court ruling that just came down about homelessness and homeless encampments. And there's just so much work to be done, so much service to be done. Not everybody can be great or famous, or excuse me, not everybody can be famous or a celebrity. However, there is greatness in service, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, and communicated. I saw, Oprah Winfrey talking about it, just about service and how there's greatness in service and being able to serve and to be part of the solution.
Right. Thank you very much. We'll see everyone Friday at 12:30 right here on the Proactive Social Impacts LinkedIn Live.
Thank you, sir.